All right, listeners, welcome back to the BSB podcast, where we go beyond and above the spotlight to talk to artists, creators, and storytellers bringing bold new work from stage and screen. Today, we are very excited. We're joined by Cece King, the writer and director behind the new original play, Redemption Song, premiering at the Broadwater Second Stage as a part of Hollywood Fringe Festival. But beyond this production, Cece has appeared in many projects, including recently Painkiller, The Wonder Years, and Workin' Moms, plenty more. But she definitely brings a unique perspective to both filmmaking and theatrical artistry. So thank you so much for joining us today, Cece.
Thank you, RJ. I'm so excited to be here to talk about this project. This is the first time I've talked about it, so I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, an exclusive. How exciting that it is.
Yes.
Just like looking over it, it's so intriguing to me. But for anyone kind of discovering your work for the first time or really kind of just now hearing about this work,
Yeah.
can you kind of tell us a little bit of how you got started or what kind of like drove you to go into writing and directing this play?
Yeah, so this is an interesting journey, I guess, maybe not. I went to film school in LA. I'm from New Jersey, and I went to school for producing. That was like my main thing I wanted to do. It was also the only way my family would let me go into this business because it felt like it had an actual career path to follow it. And so like me saying I want to be an actor was not exactly the most exciting idea. Even though my family's very creative. Anyways, so yeah, I went to film school and then I immediately just started writing while I was there. And I was also acting and I had a lot of friends that were actors. And so, that was a long time ago. And since then, I always knew I wanted to write and produce and be in something of my own. That's always something I always have looked up to people that are sort of those multi hyphenates. I find that to just be really inspiring. I loved Lena Dunham. I loved Girls. I love Issa Rae. Like these are just women that to name like a few that I'm a huge fan of that sort of straddle the like writing, acting, producing line. Directing was not necessarily something that I ever wanted to do ever. I actually was really intimidated by directing. I just was like, I have to work a ton and be work under all these amazing directors and learn, 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 and then I can direct something. And so but I have, gone on to like I work as an actor with actually like a dream director of mine. I worked with Peter Berg on Painkiller briefly, but still like, I've worked with a handful of really talented directors, I'd say, over the last like 10 years in my career. And I have written and produced a feature about 8 years ago that was released that I was in and I didn't direct. And that was a huge like learning curve for me because I realized it was kind of like this bad game of telephone of just like, I had written something and I had a really clear vision of exactly how I saw it. And I sort of instantly regretted not, I mean, my director was amazing, but I sort of regretted not directing it and being in it. I kind of wish I sort of directed it and I wasn't in it. And so moving forward, I like cut to now. I have been working on this project for the last like 8 years as a film, as a movie, and I wrote it for the screen. And I basically, it's really hard to get a film off the ground, and especially with COVID and these times, I found myself we are kind of developing and prepping this for to shoot it in 2027, which I'm excited about. But I wanted to direct it. I don't want to be in it. I wrote it. And yeah, it's called Redemption Song. It's not based off of my life or anything. My first film was. This is just thematically, there's a lot of through lines. I think, you write what you know. But yeah, I come from like a musical background and I love art and I think art heals and whether that's acting or music. And so this story is about redemption and about a guy who gets into a car accident, accidentally killing his brother, drinking and driving. And he comes out of that 11 years later and gets taken in by his sister in law and his little niece, Emmy Lou. And he starts sort of babysitting her and he finds his old guitar and he kind of starts to rekindle his love for music because he used to play in a two-man band with his younger brother, Paul, who passed away. So it's sort of just like this family drama that is about redemption and healing through music and through art. And, and I think giving people a second chance and that you're not defined by the past is sort of, the theme of the project. And so here we are bringing it to the Hollywood Fringe.
Absolutely. Wow, I mean, what a incredible premise for a story. Like I feel like I mean, redemption in general is such a it's got like an undertow to it, and what a unique perspective, especially from a familial kind of way of having to live through this tragedy and then, so much emotional baggage, right? That can
Yeah.
happen with that. What was there anything that first like sparked the idea for this story?
Yeah, actually. So after my first feature, I was like, what am I writing? And my literary agent, I'm married to a Canadian, and she I was living in Canada at the time, and my agent was like, you should really write something that you can shoot in Canada and that maybe is Canadian. And I was like, oh, that's great. What can I I'm like, I'm from New Jersey, so but I rode horses growing up, and I grew up in kind of the country, and I grew up with music, and one of my partner's employees, he was a roofer. She works in roofing, she works in the trades. And he was quite an interesting guy, and we just kind of went off on this tangent of like, what if he was a singer, and what if and so it kind of started in this sort of like, what if he did this, and he was in the trades by day and sang at night, the story kind of evolved from there. But also, like, I just know so many people that are like journeyman actors or journeyman musicians that are just not like, they're not trying to be a Star is Born. You know what I mean? Like, this is just what they do. It's what they love. My stepdad's in two bands. I feel like he doesn't work. He works in reinsurance. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think there's a lot of people that music is like the heartbeat of their life, but they're not trying to like make it as a famous musician. You know what I mean? So I kind of, that's sort of where it all started. And then it just really evolved from there, like the story. And as you do, as a writer, I start to get really creative, and I don't know. I have like my loves like Sam Shepard and certain playwrights and, filmmakers and writers that I love and that I inspire me to write and get creative. So yeah, that's
That's
kind of
so awesome. Yeah, I mean, like the draw of I mean, and that's where creativity blossoms, right? Like you're inspired or thinking outside of drawing something from your real life experience, but like it's not dead on what you're experiencing, but it's the what ifs of the world. Like, how could this, if this was
yeah.
the case, this is what would happen next.
Yeah, and I definitely think too that like I know someone in prison, and I've seen that what that toll kind of takes on a family. I also like I had a really rough, like, I lost my dad when I was 14. I went through like a lot of drinking, and I went through a lot, and I always hated like being defined by who I was when I was younger and maybe like my past. And I think a lot of people have a hard time, like, not the person that needs the redemption, the people that are sort of left to handle it all. Some people have a really hard time like seeing that person in a new light, and it makes me sad. I think we evolve as people, and I don't know. It's a really interesting theme to me that I love exploring.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how did you approach those themes that are so like complicated, in a way that still felt honest, but didn't particularly make you like lose hope, right? Because I think, like you just mentioned, yeah, it is really hard to kind of discern what life looks like, um, after that happens or as you're living through it. Like, there's no guidebook, right? To be like, how should I behave, or what is the next steps after there's a light at
Yeah.
the end of the tunnel, but what is that actually?
Well, I think as human beings, we're very resilient, and we can overcome a lot. And I think like I'm not like I am a pretty optimistic person personally, and I have a lot of faith in people. And I think that like when I'm writing characters, like I always want there to be a win. I want to see an evolution. I want to see an arc. Like, I want to see them start somewhere and go somewhere else, because I think that's life. We're and it's not like no regrets, but in a way, it's like acknowledging your past, acknowledging what you've done, and moving forward, and like having those hard conversations. I find that like I like to I like write I love writing and I love movies and I love plays and I love storytelling because it kind of puts those people, the family members, the people that don't know how to have those conversations, you as the writer get to kind of expose that and kind of rewrite what wasn't said, and I think it makes people take a look at how they approach their own familial scenarios or their own, person that maybe accidentally hurt someone drinking and driving. I think uh, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I think that like it hopefully gives people hope, I guess, through the story. And so and also I find this whole process has been incredible, especially adapting it to the stage because I've had a lot of time to work with my actors and it's been the coolest experience. Honestly, I'm having like the time of my life doing this right now. So it's really great.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I mean, and that is such the cool part of like staging something, obviously creating it and then having it come to life in front of you and
Yeah.
you being able to say like, like maybe the intentionality was different, or maybe can you explore this a little bit further?
Yeah.
I imagine that's such a unique, like to have that kind of go from your mind to something in front of you must feel. I mean, that's gotta feel awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like, I have another film. I just directed a short film that is getting into festivals. It's actually playing at the end of the month here in LA at a Sapphic Film Festival. I again, like, it's not, this isn't my first time like writing and auditioning actors and seeing them bring. It's a crazy experience though. Like to anyone who's never written and then seen your work kind of get realized by actors and them saying your lines and it's quite interesting, and it's really fun. And I think I'm really trying to right now, I'm in a place where I'm really trying to just, I think when I was a little younger, I was really sort of stuck in my own vision of like what I saw and how I feel like it should be. And I think now I'm really trying to like embrace this like collaborative art form. I really feel like I I'm only as good as like my counterparts, and I think I'm sort of creating this like the foundation and then like these as an actor, like I really value these actors' opinions and like obviously I feel so strong in my own story that like I think I will fight for what I want when in those lines or in that scene or whatever, but it actors are incredible. I mean, they have incredible ideas, incredible instincts, and they're humans and they've lived through a lot. It's crazy. I get into these conversations, which I've never really gotten to do with film. I feel like with this play, I've had a lot of rehearsal time. I've really gotten a chance to talk to my actors, hear about their experiences, how they relate to these characters, kind of what they're able to bring to it. And it's I'm kind of this mind of like best idea wins. It's like it's like, "That's great. Let's do it. Let's use it," because we just wanna get to the truth, and we want the audience to feel, and we want to tell the best story we can, so, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and with obviously music being a big part of this as well, can you tell me a little bit about how that collaboration happened? Like, did you know from the get-go that you wanted original music, or
Yes.
was it kind of a brainchild like you just mentioned?
Actually, yes and no. I think when I was writing it initially, I was like, I'm gonna cast someone like Ryan Bingham was like one of my early on like poster childs for this role of Joe. And I was like, I'm gonna cast someone that has a singer-songwriter background and we're gonna collaborate and we're gonna do this thing together. And then it kind of became very evident to me that like I think I am going to be the one that the songs relate so much to the story, which really it's like everything feels really intertwined. So, but I'm also not a songwriter, and my sister's a songwriter, incredible Americana like folk country artist. I don't know. I just named like three genres. She'll probably kill me for doing that. But anyway, she's an incredible writer, and then I was like, oh, I'll work with her. But she's in a place where she's working on her own stuff, her own art. She lives down in Nashville. She's working. She just released an album. It's like she's busy. And so I'm like, I really would love to work with people that have kind of dipped their toe really in the cinema world and understand kind of writing for film. And so I ended up teaming up with my really good friend, Matt Pine, and his friend, Wes Hutchinson. And they are incredible. Wes is like Grammy nominated. He's a songwriter. Matt is also a songwriter, singer, session player. He's one of like the top pedal steel players. He's incredible. He's played with like Shabuzi, Miley Cyrus. Like he's worked with so many amazing people. Both of them are fantastic and they're friends. And so I spent the last like year and a half in Wes's studio with my script in front of me, like, how are we going to make these songs? And my songs were like really literal and like, there still are a little bit, but they helped me figure out the chords and how, and they really shaped it. They made these songs. So I feel so grateful for them. And that process in itself was really like exciting to do. And another reason why I wanted to do the play before doing the movie, I'm like, this is very live experience. I want to hear these songs. I want to see the in time reaction. So yeah, totally. It was definitely a process and something that I'm still working on the songs, to be honest. Just always want to make them better.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, music can it can say so many things that, maybe just straight writing can't.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so interesting as you mentioned, like I mean, you are a multi hyphenate yourself, and so I'm so interested, like, how has that played a role in regards to, you've seen like so many different perspectives and played so many parts of this kind of industry. How do you think that kind of plays into your especially original vision when you are um, working with actors or working with musicians? Do you think that lends itself well to those collaborations?
I, I do. Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like directing is something that kind of like has come into my life a little bit by default in a way because I it's been really hard as an actor right now. I think I went on 150 auditions last year. In the last year, I counted. I don't think I know because I'm that kind of tortured artist. Um, and like, I'm so grateful, I'm grateful to go in, but it's like, who knows, why you're not booking or whatever, but it's hard to live in that. And I think, um, I've been working on this project and the deeper I've gotten into it, I'm like, I want to direct this. And because I do have a production company, I do produce by day. So I'm working a lot with people and directing people, whether that's short form content or, I'm seeing a lot of things from start to finish, basically. And so I do feel like that really lends a hand to this whole process because I think again, like I have a very clear vision and I see it all and I understand how to get it from point A to B to C. Maybe it's not always the cleanest, but I can understand that. And I think it helps when, because I've been on sets where I've worked with really like not great directors. I've worked with like opposite an actor who's left me in the scene and I'm working opposite a piece of tape, and it's just like getting nothing from them. And I I just feel like I've been in it enough and long enough that I think I have the respect for all the different, whether that's like departments or people involved, that I think a lot of times when it's just a director or they're, just a, they're, I don't know. I feel like some directors don't have that full scope, and I think having that perspective helps me, I think, be a better director. And I'm a woman, and I think that's great too, because I think there's just this communication style that us women have that is good, that lends itself to this medium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've definitely spoken to a few um, folks where it does feel kind of siloed, right? Like they're either just a director or just a producer, just a actor. And
Yeah,
so I think though I have seen this trend recently where there is this development of people who maybe they started in acting and now they're moving into producing or directing, which is really cool to see. I mean, obviously it's like other, depending on if it's on stage or screen, kind of flipping the script and seeing things from a different perspective.
yeah.
um, just speaks to though your level of creativity to be able to see through those different lenses. is
Yeah, and I
wonderful.
think the challenging thing too, I mean, it's not challenging, but I feel like even with this play as an example, like, and the film itself, it's like, "Oh, well, why aren't you in it? Like, you should be in it." And I think it's really important to, like, understand your role and where you wanna put your focus, because while, yes, I'm a multi-hyphenate person, I think that I have learned, I mean, and I'll continue to learn, sort of when I can't be spreading myself too thin per project. So it's like I am not going to commit to directing is a crazy commitment, I think. And if I was in this, forget it. Like that does not interest me, you know? And so I would maybe one day it will, but like for now, like this is I want to just be fully present with the actors and, you know, and people will try to say to you like you should just be in it. You know, it's like, no, I don't want to be in it, you know, and it's like, I am gonna bring people on that are really good at their job, that are gonna elevate this project, and I'm gonna just be really good at my job. If my job is directing this and I'm the writer, great. But I don't need to do all three. You know, I don't think and so I think that's sometimes I feel like that's the mistake I see people do. And like I'm kind of critical on that. Like if I see a film or project where I'm like, they didn't need to be in that, you know, they coulda just wrote it and directed it or produced it and been the creative force, but maybe they were too old or it didn't really work or, you know, and so I have opinions on that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and that's definitely like, yeah, like it's a common, just seems to keep popping up.
Yeah.
Um, but like it's rare, I think, for people to have that self discernment of like, no, like here's where my focus is. Like here's what I
Yeah.
actually want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's great that you have that and you know, like, no, like this is my primary. I'm surrounding myself with people that I know and trust and are incredible in their craft, and that means that this project itself is just going to propel forward.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. I definitely feel that way, and I think that, like yeah, like, it's been said to me so many times, and I'm just like, it's kind of it's frustrating because 'cause you're just like, I would love to, but at the same time, you're like, "Okay, this is" I I feel it's something I've recognized, though, like, in myself that I'm able to not let the I think it's because 'cause I've gotten older too, and, like, I'm learning because I think back then, you know, I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I should do all these things," but it's like, "No, let's not sacrifice. Let's just eye on the prize, focus and on this one thing." And I have to tell you, like, the anxiety I get as an actor before, like, working on a set or even before an audition, like, is riddling. Like, it's so I am an anxious person. So, like, for me, that anxiety is hell. And so this anxiety is different. This feels more I almost feel like I'm more in my element when I'm directing in a way because I feel like I'm in my power a bit more with acting. It's not until literally the cameras are rolling and I'm in a
mm,
scene that I feel great, but all the befores and after like, it's just not yeah, it's different.
yeah, I mean, such different roles, and um, I guess, you know, like you've mentioned that this is, you know, going to be on a screen, potentially next year.
Yeah.
Is that where you like when you first envisioned this project, is that where you wanted it to kind of go? Or did you have any like kind of trajectory that you were hoping this story would, you know, kind of make?
I mean, I've written for film. It's kind of what I know. It's what I've studied. So like for me, I wrote it as a film and that's always been the intention. As the years have gone on, of course, like you start to get really like should I do this as a play? You know, I've thought about doing it as a play many times. And it wasn't until this movie started to get really real that I realized I really don't wanna miss my opportunity while I still have, like, full control over the project, to do what I kinda wanna do with it and have fun and get into this a little bit deeper with actors, etcetera. So, like, I I did always know I wanted to do it as a film, but I've decided to do it as a play, and I've never done a play. I've done a play as an actor, like, twice, and I studied theater, and I studied, scene studies and did a lot of play work and, you know, and classes and things, so it's not, like, foreign to me to be on a stage. What is foreign to me is, like, understanding light plots and like understanding blocking for the stage and understanding how my story transitions, quick changes, it's crazy. Like it's um a whole other thing, and it's it's nuts. And now because I'm doing it, I've had to cut the show down. So, like, the movie is a 90-minute film. We only have 60 minutes on the stage at the Broadwater. We have 15 minutes to load in our whole set. So, and then we have 60 minutes to do the show and 15 minutes to load out. And that's not a lot. And I'm learning about Q Lab and how to program all my cues. And I wanted to use a projector. I want to do all these things, and slowly I'm like, well, I like, it's a lot. I just did my first tech last night and it went so well. I'm so happy. I teched everything, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like I can't even. My technical director over at the Broadwater, Bianca, she's the coolest. She's so good, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like I think doing it in real time and watching the story, it's just the coolest. So now I'm like, can I get a longer run for this? Like I would love, and my cast is incredible. And so like I would just if anything came out of this Fringe where someone was like, "Hey, you wanna do this, like, for 6 weeks at the Broadwater on the main stage, or would you wanna do this?" Oh my gosh, sign me up. Like, I would wanna continue this further. We only have 3 shows, and it feels like I'm prepping for a 6-week run. So, yeah, that's kinda what I would love to do next before the film, to be honest.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, so much work like goes into such a little amount of time at the end of it all, right? It's I feel
Yes.
like every show like I've ever heard about or worked on, it is exactly that thing. You're like you spend so much, I mean, obviously years pouring
Yeah.
into this project and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, like what where do we go from here?" Um but, is there anything that you are hoping, audiences once they experience this, what are you hoping they carry, with them after seeing it?
Um, I guess kind of what I was saying in the beginning of just like, I hope people walk away from this feeling like, you're not defined by your past. And, and art heals. And whether that is a music, writing, singing, playing, whether you're a painter, it's such an amazing outlet. An actor, I think there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now, and it's kind of a scary time. And, we can be so hard on ourselves. And I think so can the people around us. They can be hard on us too. And I think just hoping people come away with this with like giving people a little bit of grace in life, and also encouraging people to pursue that sort of creative passion, or if that's what they're drawn to, if they're journaling, encourage them. If they I was recently just talking to my cousin, and he's obsessed with movies, and I was like, "You should work in film. Like, you don't have to be an actor. You can, there's so many jobs, and you love story, So, I don't know. I'm a huge proponent of the arts and, like, loving the arts, and especially now, some of the best art comes out of these times. So, hopefully this film will inspire people. We'll see. Or film. What am I
Absolutely.
saying? This play. This is this play will inspire people. Oh my gosh. Ah, hello.
I think, yeah, like, it is, I mean, crazy times we're in,
Yes.
and while the arts are seemingly being, less funded, it is, like, it's in that, like, crunch period, I feel like, where people do become inspired because they're so driven, they're trying to overcome so many obstacles, and that's, yeah, it's absolutely where some of the best art has come from. Um,
Yeah, totally. And I will say that the Hollywood Fringe, I have been meeting a lot of people doing shows there. There's like over 400 shows as a part of this festival. LA theater, like don't really equate the two as much. And there's some incredible work that's getting put up, and such talented artists, and just get out to the Fringe, go see some shows, like go check it out. It's all of June. The Broadwater is great because they have multiple stages. There's like over 100 shows at that theater. make sure you find parking, get there ahead of time. I just think that like I have had a few friends that have done one man, one woman shows. Recently, I've had friends in plays. A lot of film people have been doing theater, but not like famous film people. I'm talking just like people that are like me who are just, want to work. And if you are an actor or a creative, like go support your fellow creatives because they're out there doing the work and it's really inspiring and it's really fun. And so I would really encourage people to get out to the Fringe this year if you're in LA or, wherever you live and go see some live theater. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it here, folks. Go check out the Fringe Festival. But beyond that, Cece, where can people find you and find your work?
Yeah, so we're keeping updated with Redemption Song with this play. We're on the Hollywood Fringe's website. We also my production company Twisted Valley Films at Twisted Valley Films on Instagram. We've been posting updates there. We're doing ticket giveaways, stuff like that. So yeah, follow along there. And then my Instagram is at underscore Cece King. Yeah, because someone else already had my name, so I have an underscore in front of it. So yeah, that's where you can keep up with all of the things.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to get to know you as an artist and director and,
Thank
multi
you.
hyphenate, but also your work. So, folks, make sure to go check out the Hollywood Fringe Festival as well as Redemption Song. Thank you so much for joining us on the BSB podcast. Until next time.